For folks who, have only seen sort of the images and the posters and things like that, what was, talk about each of your characters and then sort of like what about them, like you connected with, of course, because this is this sort of massive mythical kind of thing, and it's not maybe the more conventional thing of playing a lawyer or,
right.
Something.
Beyond, I mean, that basically was what attracted me to the character in the first place. I've always been interested in mythology, always loved it, and I actually got to be, and I've always historical fiction, always read those kind of books, and I actually got to be a player in one of those books, but sort of made real and visualized. What was the other part of the question?
Just talk about your specific character.
Theseus as a character. Basically, he's a man who takes the journey from atheist to martyr, and all the things that come with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Zeus. It was. Sorry, can you ask the question? What was it again?
Just sort of talk about your character.
You can tell we're getting a bit brain dead at this stage.
I promise they'll get. My questions will get more interesting, but just
right.
sort of.
Well, I play Zeus, the king of the gods. Obviously, I'm much younger than the normal actors that we're used to playing this character. So, he's quite a hands-on god. He's involved quite. He's very hands-on with what goes on Earth. Maybe not, especially with Henry's character. And he's an observer and a father figure and a king. So yeah, that's basically his role in this film.
Mm-hmm. Because there's obviously so much mythology that you can draw upon. When you come into something like this, do you have to focus just on the script, or can you reference in some way sort of the entirety of sort of the mythology in terms of either building the character or including certain details about?
Well, the thing about Greek mythology is there's lots of different versions on the stories behind these characters.
Yeah,
I mean, Zeus.
Zeus,
I mean, I could tell you things about Zeus, and then somebody else could say, "Oh no, he didn't do that," and they, well, he did in this version. Every Greek writer has written a different version of each of the gods. So for me, I know a lot about the role. I've done Greek mythology film before. I've done a lot of research, but in essence, this is a job of acting out a role, and so you cut everything away, you strip it bare, you take the essence of what this character has to tell, the story that this character tells, and the journey he goes on, and that's where you start from. Take everything else away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was it sort of similar for you?
Yeah, very much so. If you ask the question again, I actually had a good answer, but I forgot it.
Okay. Well, just the idea of encapsulating the entirety of the mythology of your character as opposed to focusing on maybe what's specifically in the script or this.
Right. I personally often find that sort of with a story like this, which is a version of Greek mythology, it's not necessarily your classic version at all. It's often best to have a good background knowledge of what it is, so you don't make any sort of terrible faux pas with your performance. But generally, just focus on the script and the storyline. When you're in a director's hands like Tarsem, it's very easy to do because he's got complete control of this universe, which he's created entirely. This is not necessarily Greece. This is, an ancient world, certainly, or maybe a futuristic world. Who knows? Who knows where in the timeline it lies? It certainly looks like ancient Greece, but there are gods involved. It's mythology. It has no real place in a timeline, and you just rely upon Tarsem to give you the necessary answers, which we know Luke is sort of, and I've been talking about, is he had this world so masterfully created and crafted that any question you had, he would answer. He'd show us all the concept art and little 3D models and all sorts of everything we needed to see, so we knew where we belonged before we even got to the actual acting stage of it. And very fortunate in that. So, long story short, don't need to focus so much on the Greek mythology. Yes, do your base research, but ultimately you're in the hands of a fantastic craftsman, and allow him to guide you on the way.
Mm-hmm.